We will go ahead and get started. We have a lot to cover tonight, and I want to respect everybody's time. Thank you very much for joining me for our 2026-27 athletic meeting. I will post the slideshow, and the recording will be up at the end of this. So if you want to go back and review anything, please do. I'm also monitoring the chat the best I can. I am a one-man show tonight. But I promise I will get to your questions. If I don't answer them right away, please feel free to re-ask in the chat. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David Gilmer, and I'm the athletic director at Jones College Prep. This will be my second year as athletic director, and it will be my 13th year working in the building. I also coach our boys golf team. Tonight, we want to go through the basics of our program. For returning families, welcome back. A lot of this will be familiar. For new families, we're really excited to welcome you to Jones, be able to introduce our program. At the end of this, you hopefully will understand sort of our athletic philosophy, how our seasons work, what we expect of your players, our coaches, and what we expect of you. I want to talk about how we got here to this presentation and to kind of how our system is going to work this year. At the end of last season, all athletes and families received the opportunity to provide feedback for our programs, as well as our coaches. What I've done is spent the summer kind of digging into that data and looking at what we're doing well and what areas we have to growth. And the feedback I got, and I noticed my first typo already, it's not feedback. Feedback we got is that most of our athletes really enjoy their programs. Our families and our athletes, overwhelmingly over 84% of you really are having a good time with our athletics. Athletes feel welcomed and supported was the strongest category. And that lines up to what I see in my work, what I hear from my conversations with parents and with athletes. And then the big thing is we want to see growth in our promotion and our recognition of our athletics. And we want to see consistency within our practices. So an emphasis of mine, we met with the coaches yesterday, is trying to organize all our procedures and making sure that each athletic program is activating the systems in the same way. So I want to start just kind of briefly talking about our philosophy and who you should talk to with questions as the season goes on. We view athletics as an extension of the classroom. I have two kids, a 9 and a 7-year-old, who both do, dance and baseball and softball and football and all sorts of activities. And watching them get coached is always some of the best feedback I have for how our coaches should coach. And we are teachers first, whether you work in Jones or work outside of Jones. We want to approach our coaching as teachers. We want to make sure our students feel valued and respected. We want to make sure that they are given areas to grow, but it's done in a way that encourages them and not discourages them. We focus on being better every day. That is kind of a philosophy I've really embraced in my own coaching and in my leadership of this department is if we can just do, a little bit better every day, we are eventually going to get to where our goals are. And a big emphasis I have is that we have this shared responsibility, right? All of our coaches, all of our parents, all of our athletes, we have a responsibility of stewardship over this athletic department so that we can pass it on to, the next generation. And if it goes well, it's a little bit better. What families can expect from coaches, your students should experience a strong culture. And so we talk about belonging, sportsmanship, leadership, respect, and team identity. This is the framework that coaches will be evaluated on. This is a new thing for us, is a formal evaluation for our coaches. But these are the categories that coaches will be ranked on and you'll be providing feedback on. You can expect that your athlete will be developed, right? One of the things I am really proud of is our strongest programs bring people into our schools and they leave better athletes. And that's a huge goal of ours. You can expect your students will be safe and they will be supported emotionally, academically. You can expect strong communication from our coaches. That is an area that I am really pushing for. And if communication breaks down, please let me know early and often. And you can expect for me to continually be looking to lead and develop our athletic program. There are a lot of people who do that, and we're going to talk about all the different categories, but you can expect a strong athletic leadership from me. This is our athletic team. So I'm the athletic director, and you can reach me at dgilmer@cps.edu, and my extension is 48684. And this would actually be a good time just to pause. For those of you who are returning to Jones, you will remember that, or you may have heard that at the end of last year, there was some consideration from CPS about changing how athletic directors work in CPS, and it could have resulted in me not being able to continue in the role I'm at. We found out yesterday at around 1:30 in the afternoon that CPS and CTU have reached an agreement to allow the current athletic directors who are teachers to remain as athletic directors. So I will be the athletic director this year. There was a lot of parent outreach and athlete outreach from Jones and other schools to make sure that continued. So I just want to make sure I take an opportunity to say thank you to all of you who've been supportive during that process. We're really glad it's worked out. What I have been told is that I will actually be moving into a full-time athletic director role. So that should allow me to be able to support our programs more thoroughly, provide better day of assistance when we host games, et cetera, and other, sort of new initiatives. So we're really excited about that. With me, I have 3 assistant athletic directors, Michael Stroke, Howard Hugh, and Lauren Brunn. Lauren is new to the team. Mike is going to be working on buses and Howard on early dismissals. And Lauren has come on. She's our cheer coach, and she's come on for school recognition, spirit, kind of cultural initiatives. And we've already started some of the work on that, and we're really excited about that. Principal Dolan is our administrator in charge. So if there's ever issues that maybe need network or sort of broader administrative support, Principal Dolan is there to do that. And then our coaches are going to be your primary contacts for logistics around scheduling, tryouts, transportation, and coach contact information can be found at jonescollegeprepathletics.com. All of our athletic information is going to be at jonescollegeprepathletics.com. I know that's confusing that it's not always on the main website, but that is how it's been divided up. On this slide, we have QR codes, and they were working as of 10 o'clock this morning to our athletic website. Our tryout information for the fall, winter tryout information should come out soon. Our Google Calendar for the year. You should know that there is a external facing Google Calendar that you will see on the Jones website that is just for our games. And then there's an internal calendar that lists all of our practices. Forms, so submitting your IHSA physicals, etc., can be found there, and we'll talk a little bit about that. The CPS rules for eligibility, the IHSA website, and then the Jones Athletic Booster Association website. And we're going to talk a lot about the boosters later in this, but they play a huge, crucial role, and I would love to get more of you to help support their incredible work. Now that you kind of know our philosophy and our context, I want to talk about how our season is structured. You are going to see that we're divided into 3 different seasons of fall, winter, and spring, and most of our programs, they operate in one of those seasons. Esports, sailing, crew, cheer, dance, chess, all operate in multiple seasons. And then our athletes obviously do workouts and other things during the off season. Most, if not all, of our programs offer multiple levels. That may be a varsity JV Frosh soft level. That may be just a varsity JV level. If you have questions about levels, that is a great place to start with by contacting the coach. You will hear sort of interchangeable lingo of co-ops. Co-ops, we have a few teams like water polo, swim, boys golf, boys lacrosse that we are in partnership with other schools. Most of those are with Peyton. Boys lacrosse is also with Whitney Young. We are working through some of those things now that the IHSA is putting limits on our co-op programs. And the boys lacrosse program, I can answer those questions more specifically later. We also have sports that are non-IHSA, such as crew. Sailing is officially recognized as an IHSA developing sport, but it doesn't have an IHSA championship yet. Our hockey teams are not IHSA sponsored. We partner with club hockey, and our esports goes between IHSA and IESA, and they are the state champions of the IHSA esports, which is a pretty remarkable accomplishment. Our fall sports, and I'm missing sailing from here because it just didn't fit, but our fall sports all start next week or the week after. So football, this will be our first season with football, and they start next Wednesday. They are the earliest sport to start. And then everyone else starts on the 10th. Boys and girls cross country, boys and girls golf, boys soccer, girls swim dive, girls tennis, girls volleyball, and girls flag football. And our cheer and dance teams have already begun their practices. They both had tryouts last spring, and they are working hard to be ready for both performing on the sideline at football games and then their competitive seasons in the winter. Our winter programs, these are going to start in early November, late October for the most part. This is going to be our boys, girls basketball, boys, girls bowling. We have boys swim dive. We have co-ed wrestling. This is when cheer moves into their competitive season. Dance moves into their competitive season. Indoor track. And like I said, chess and esports will have already been participating, but this is when they get into their championship and playoff. Will start towards the end of winter and into spring. And then spring, we have baseball, softball, girls soccer, boys volleyball, boys girls lacrosse, boys girls water polo. Girls water polo is a 4-time in a row city champ. The outdoor track season starts, boys tennis. And then, like I said earlier, we have some sailing crew. Those are multi-season sports as well. I also want to introduce, you're going to hear during this year me talk about CPL, which is Chicago Public League, IHSA, which is our state association, and then Jones. So CPL and IHSA are our two governing bodies. Our conference meets and our city championship are all done through the Chicago Public League. Each sport has different sort of variations of how that works. There can be multiple levels. There can be multiple different city championships. The brackets for all of those work differently. Then we go to IHSA. IHSA is completely separate from the city series. So every sport except for tackle football this year automatically qualifies to participate in the IHSA series. It's just a matter of the coach and team opting into that. Then that's a playoff for the state championship. And then Jones, we follow all the public league and IHSA procedures, but we do have a couple, sort of policies that are extensions of that, or procedures that are our interpretation of what they ask us to do. So now we're going to get into really the practical standpoint for families of what you need to do so we can get ready for our seasons. The first thing is our required forms. Many of you have been emailing me, and many of you have been submitting digitally, so I want to talk about how our forms work. On that athletic website and with this QR code is a Google form to submit all the paperwork you need for your athlete to be able to participate this year. That includes an IHSA pre-participation form. This is different than a traditional physical. It is just a doctor or nurse practitioner clearing your athlete to participate in athletics and listing anything that coaches could potentially know. IHSA pre-participation forms are forms that I can give coaches so that they can have information about your athlete while they're participating in their sport, where physicals are not things that we should be giving coaches because they have a lot more information on them. So it's really critical for you to support those IHSA pre-participation forms. Those can be found, everything's linked in the Google form. Most doctors, my experience has been if you email them saying that you need it, they can fill it out based on the prior physical, right? So they don't even need an appointment. If you're unable to do that, I know CVS and Walgreens offer walk-in signatures on those. And I think for CPS students, they're under $20. I want to say they're $10 to $15. I've had students go and get those at dismissal and be eligible by game time at 4 o'clock. They just walk down to the end of the block and can get it at that CVS. So that's how quick those forms work. Other forms you're going to be submitting is a concussion acknowledgement. You're going to be submitting your parent and player contract, a media release form. You're going to be giving me emergency contact information, etc. When that form gets submitted, I'm going to go through and I'm going to enter that information into Aspen and into our internal eligibility form. And that's going to give coaches the clearance that your athlete is able to be rostered on a team. The question, should we be logged into student CPS account or parent to email and submit the forms? I've had one parent who their email didn't work. And it was someone in their administration blocked them from the form. It is open to anyone, but if you're running into an issue, let me know and I can try to work around. We ended up for the one situation we did need to use the student CPS, but I haven't heard of any other issues. I do want you to know that at tryouts, your coaches won't know if you're cleared yet because I haven't entered your athlete into their roster. So if you get to tryouts, you're worried about the physical, and it hasn't been processed yet. The big deadline is going to be after your athlete makes a team, just in terms of how the systems communicate and let the coaches know. So if you know on the 10th you're going for tryouts and the paperwork's just not quite complete and you get it in the 11th, that's okay. We just want to make sure it's done when they get rostered on a team. Should not be independently collecting physicals. They may be collecting other things like contact information, or maybe they have their own team contract. Those IHSA pre-participation need to go into the Google form, and then I can share any relevant information that they need with them. This helps protect privacy, etc. You should be getting an email when forms are submitted, and then it goes into Aspen, and then when I upload it to the coach, I give them a list of everyone who's cleared, and then we will reach back out to you if you're not cleared. Again, we can fix it on the back end really easily. So submit it and sit tight, and you should be good. I know that sounds like a backward system, but that it's easier for me to deal with the one or two people who the forms don't come out right. But if the forms aren't right, I always reach out. 98% of the time, everything comes in correct. I want to talk about tryouts, rosters, and commitment because this is really important. Before tryouts, please check date, time, all the requirements for the tryout itself. I know, for example, for golf, I need players to pre-register because we have to book tee times. I think volleyball does some pre-registration. Boys soccer, I think you can just show up based on your grade level. All that information is on Jones College Prep Athletics. Coaches, for returning players, coaches should have reached out with information. But for your new players, that is all on collegeprepathletics.com. Coaches are asked to use some form of rubric for the tryouts. Again, I coach golf. My rubric's really easy. You shoot a score and you make it or you don't. Swim has times. There are sports like soccer that it feels much more subjective, right? So we do ask coaches to create some formal structure so that you are clear about what they're looking for and they can communicate why athletes do or don't make teams. If after tryouts happen and you have questions about why your athlete was or was not rostered on the team, I do encourage you to politely ask the coach. I just ask that we do it after, we give some time after the tryout. If there's still some concerns, please always feel free to reach out to me. After tryouts, I have asked coaches to finalize their rosters within 1 week. That is a new practice. We have allowed some teams to be a little bit more flexible. With all the systems in place in terms of attendance, Aspen, fees, it's really critical that we lock in our rosters early. If we don't, then it creates 10 more steps down the line, and students miss fees or get charged twice, or they don't have their attendance taken care of, etc. I do want to just kind of let everyone know that I encourage our coaches to make cuts. And the rationale for that is looking at feedback from last year. One of the more consistent things was on the programs that were really large. There were parents who felt like their athletes weren't getting enough coaching towards the bottom end of the roster. So I have told coaches that they should feel free to limit their roster to what is manageable for their coaching staff to provide that good feedback that we talked about at the first slide. They also need to make sure that they have the minimum amount of people on the roster that CPS requires. Cuts are really difficult. I've had to make them as a coach. I've had to support our coaches as they make them. I do recommend to coaches to make those cuts via like something like email. The reason is it can be really difficult to find out at school. Even in a private situation, it can be really difficult to find out at school. So if you feel like coaches are being impersonal, if they make cuts via email, I just want you to know that that's my recommendation. If coaches are making in-person cuts, they're expected to do so in private and in a place that allows the athlete to have time to reflect and to experience the difficulties of that situation. We also will alert our counseling staff if cuts are being made in school, in case there's an escalation that would need some sort of intervention. For tennis, I need to confirm if they have. I believe it's just JV and varsity, but tennis is also. And I assume you're talking about girls tennis because it's this season. Tennis is a team where they will usually have a bigger roster, and then only a few will start matches. And so we're working through some of those decision makings. I want to talk about academic eligibility and attendance eligibility. We have a more strict policy than CPS. The reason for that is I see your girls' golf question. I'll get to you in a second. The reason for that is I think it's easier to intervene with students immediately, and it in the end gives students more support. So our academic eligibility criteria are that students cannot have more than 2 failing grades in a week or 2 weeks with 1 failing grade. So it's kind of a 2-2 or 2-1 situation. If students have 2 Fs in a week or have multiple weeks with 1 F, they have the opportunity to meet with their counselor and get placed on an academic improvement plan. That is a plan that they agree upon with their counselor. Athletics has nothing to do with it. The counselor says, yes, we have a plan. This is our follow-up, and they give me the plan, and I approve them for temporary participation in their athletics. If they do not do that and they have those failing grades, then they need to sit out for an entire week of competition until the grades go up. Competition and practice, I should say. I think this is a really fair policy, and I think it promotes the most important part of a student athlete, which is the student aspect. Students also have to pass their previous semester, right? So if they receive more failing grades than passing grades in the previous semester, they are not eligible for the entire semester, and that is irregardless of an academic improvement plan or not. Our attendance standard is that if students have 2 unexcused absences in a week, they need to sit for 1 game. It does take some time. So I do attendance for athletics, and it can take sometimes 24 hours for me to go back in and allow and change. So we look at attendance on a weekly basis, not a daily basis. So every Monday, the attendance team goes through the list, scrubs the information, make sure it's accurate, and then the consequences come from there. Teachers also receive a email the day after. If a student was marked unexcused absence, they get an email just reminding them that happened and making sure to confirm if that student was or was not unexcused. Family support in this, if you can communicate conflicts early, support your students' academic progress. That is the best way to work through this. Things that I see that happen are students have to miss school for a tournament and don't communicate to their teacher, a week beforehand and end up just sort of struggling academically. Or students are having a hard time getting to school in the morning and aren't communicating, aren't looking for strategies. The communication is always, I think, the biggest thing. The other big thing with this is just so you know, for returning new people, if your student is part of an activity that is graded outside of class time, right? So like a performance in the evening, they do have the right to choose between going to their extracurricular and getting an alternative assignment. What I ask is that if they are choosing to skip a performance and do an alternative assignment, please communicate that with your coach and with your teacher really early. We had situations last year where, for whatever reason, those things were communicated last minute, and it causes stress on the coach and the teacher and creates conflict that doesn't need to be there. So I just, again, want to emphasize communication. I see 2 questions in the chat. The first, in terms of attendance for club meetings, that is entirely up to a coach. For boys golf, you're not. If you sign up for boys golf, you're expected to be at every practice, and then the tournaments you're starting. I would say most of our programs function that way, but that would be a question for each coach. Our athletic programs are, competitive, high-level programs, and we do need our athletes there. And then for girls golf, they don't have a tee time sign up. They do their tryouts on the range. Boys golf is the only one with tee time tryouts. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of attendance, when your athlete gets rostered, and this kind of goes to the point about clubs and other activities, it is really critical to look at that schedule and to be really clear with the coach if you know your athlete's going to be missing competitions or missing practices. Like I said, we will be cutting athletes from many of our sports. And if your athlete agrees to be on a team and then can only come to a few of the tournaments, it puts the coach in a difficult situation. It puts players in a difficult situation. So please make sure you're looking at those schedules and realistically assessing if your athlete can or cannot do that. In terms of boys golf, yeah, you can email me if you have travel complications. I want to talk about athletic fees and team-specific costs. I'll go here. The first thing I should say is that we have a budget of about $225,000. All except about $20,000 of that is through student fees or fundraising. CPS last year was the first year CPS provided any money for athletics. They provided us about $20,000, and it's about 10% of our budget, a little less than 10% of our budget. I am always asked if athletic fees are waivable. I wish we had a situation where we could waive fees. I know that it can become a deterrent for athletes participating. I do our best to keep our team fees as low as possible, but we spend almost $170,000 just on buses to get our athletes to and from games. So we're working really hard to figure out, ways to reduce, and that we've looked at, if we're in the city doing less bus travel and more ride sharing or public transportation, things like that. But I want people to understand why the fees exist and how important they are. Once your athlete is rostered, it'll take about a week or two, and that fee will be added to your Aspen account. And there will be an email sent once it's added with instructions on how to pay. Those fees cover all the equipment Jones purchases, all the uniforms we own. They also cover all our capital improvements. We are lucky to have some great facilities. We have a great turf field. We have a beautiful gym. We have a beautiful pool. We're able to use Grant Park for tennis. We've just gotten a new softball field, and we have McGuane for baseball. But all those facilities also need upkeep. We know our basketball court needs to be refinished. We know our Dectronic board is as old as the school is, and so it's getting to the end of its life. We know softball field and baseball field need some improvements. And so those 225s, we're trying to get to a place where we can save some of that money so we can do some of our capital improvements. The next thing, and I see your questions, I'm going to answer them as I get to the end of finances. There also may be team-specific fees, and these will be collected through our booster association. I am going to talk more and more about boosters towards the end because I'm going to talk about how families can help. But our booster association has done a remarkable job over the last few years developing into a huge support system for our teams. For team-specific fees, all boosters does is collect them and then hold them in accounts that coaches can use. The advantage of putting them in the boosters is they always roll over. So some CPS fees go back to the district at the end of the year. They can be used for any vendors, right? So there's a complicated approved vendor process. And it's just a lot quicker in terms of how we are able to cut checks, et cetera. For our co-op teams, if students are on the other school, not the Jones school, they can also pay that $225 into the Java account, and then that can get transferred here. But I do need to make it clear that the Booster Association doesn't support individual teams. They support our broad athletics, and we'll talk about that in a few slides. Some students do keep uniforms, right? Cheer, for instance, they buy all their own uniforms. Boys basketball does not, right? We collect them at the end. So that how that works will just depend on if you are paying. If you own the uniform, you will pay for it separately. If it's part of that 225, then we own it and we collect it. Fees are distributed as equitably as we can across all sports. It is not a scenario where if you have a team of 40 and a team of 12, the team of 40 gets 40 times 225, and the team of 12 gets 12 times 225. We look at it as one budget, and we try to budget appropriately. And then I have a budgeting template to look and say and to see, did our spending go high per student ratio here this year? Then we'll cut back the next year. Also looking at how spending happens by gender to make sure that we support both our boys girls programs, and that's just how they're divided equally. I put a lot of effort into making sure we are as equitable as we can, knowing that some teams have higher cost than others. Bus size, for example, a team who needs to have 2 buses to get everyone right, their cost automatically doubles. So we work through some really complicated, nuanced situations. For sailing, you will need to email the sailing coach for tryouts. It's hosted out of Columbia Yacht, and so we partner with them, but they have their own criteria for that. Want to just make sure we kind of are clear on a couple things. CPS fees I cannot give to boosters. Once CPS fees come in, they're locked into the school. CPS funds team-specific fees that go to JABA do not reimburse our coaches for the end of the year. There are some schools that are paying additional fees to their coaches. We do not, because it is against policy. They can reimburse coaches for summer programming. And I talked about the individual teams. Communications, really important. So I want to talk about what you can expect during the season. You should receive a season start message either before tryouts if you're a returning player or like the first week. This will go over the whole schedule, eligibility, expectations, etc. Coaches are expected to send a weekly update with past results, this week's schedule, any sort of big things. And coaches are expected to respond to emails within 48 hours. If you find that there are issues with that, please let me know. Coaches should only be communicating with players through approved communication channels. That is CPS email. And then we have been using GChat. Unfortunately, GChat had a phishing attack, and so we are going to switch to Remind for now. The whole department is being asked to use Remind for parents for students. For parents, they can use whatever platform they want. Remind is managed by CPS, so those messages are publicly accessible to the administration of the school. We want to make sure that we have messaging platforms that are, able to be researched or go back if there's any questions. High emotion issues. So if there's a game with high emotions or tryouts, things like that, please schedule an opportunity to do a phone call. We don't want to just have kind of long back and forth email because a tone gets lost so easily in email. I also want to really always emphasize first line of communication should always be student-based. We want to make sure that we are teaching our students how to communicate with the coach or with me. In terms of being able to find appropriate uniforms for religious purposes, we would make that work. That hasn't been a situation I've occurred in my time here, but we can figure out the appropriate solution if necessary. In communication, I think one of the big things is, I just said student athlete first. If coach and student can't resolve the situation, please reach out to the coach. And then if that still can't happen, please reach out to me. To say that anything that is a health, safety, harassment, discrimination, anything outside of the normal conversation, please loop me in right away. But we do want to make sure that our student athletes are learning how to advocate for themselves, and that coach has an opportunity to respond to you for sort of the most the normal conversations first. Social media, I just want to talk a little bit about. JCP Athletic is our Instagram, and Most of our teams also have Instagram. That's one really good way for us to get information. We have been talking about visibility a lot, so please follow along, repost, tag. We love getting our results and our accomplishments out there. We want to keep our social media positive. I think that's a big thing. I know we had a situation where another team posted something really negative, and I was really disappointed, and I called their school about it. I said, we can have really strong competition and competitive games, but at the end of the day, we're all, Chicago Public Schools working to make our athletes and our schools and our community better. We're going to continue with logistics and safety. I've gone over this a little bit earlier. Our official calendar is tracked via Google Calendar. I get events from coaches and then I approve them. Events do change frequently, though. Events can change. If you haven't noticed, it's rained a lot this spring and summer. We canceled more baseball and softball games than I can remember. Events can change because CPS changes things, right? We are at the mercy of the Office of Sports Administration in terms of playoffs, conference games. They can make decisions to change things. We had a week ago, we found out, midday that we were going to cancel things because of heat. Right. So always just sort of be monitoring. We will do our best to get schedule changes out as quick as possible. If you do notice a pattern of changes that seem outside of the scope of what is, kind of acceptable and you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. For this, I think we've talked about transportation. Our goal is to provide as much transportation as possible. We did have some situations last year where buses, we had a bus where we had booked it and they forgot to send it. And we had to throw kids in an Uber. We had games that were added last minute and we couldn't get buses. In the spring with cancellation, buses can be difficult. But we are working as hard as possible to always have buses for our athletes. For returning families, last year we spent a lot of time on very nice M&M coach buses. We will not be doing that as much this year. We are trying to be a little bit more fiscally responsible, and their prices went up significantly. So we talked earlier about equity of spending. In general, buses of teams under 15, I can get the nicer coach buses because they're cheaper than the BJ bus if they're under than 15. But then after 15 athletes, it goes up to where the BJ bus is significantly cheaper. So if you notice, one team's getting a lot of coach buses and the other's not, it just comes down to cost. I'm just booking the cheapest bus so we can try to prioritize our money elsewhere. Other big thing is if your student takes the bus to a game and they are deciding not to take the bus home, they need to go home with you or an approved guardian, and coach needs to know. They can't just walk home or take the L. We need a chain of custody sort of switch there. Early dismissals. Your coaches will schedule early dismissals for games, tournaments, matches, not for practices. That's been my communication to coaches, that we should avoid early dismissal as much as possible for practices. The only sort of caveat would be if you had a time-specific practice, like you played on a golf course and you needed to get it done before it gets dark, or you played on a field that didn't have lights. That would be something we could look at, and it would be approved by me. Students need to let their teachers know 48 hours before an early dismissal or an absence. Teachers get a weekly email with all of that, but students should also be communicating. We also want to make sure that we just remind our students that they need to follow what the coach has said for early dismissal. If it's a 2:45 early dismissal, that doesn't mean 2:30 or 2:15, and they need to remain on campus. So your students cannot leave and go buy pizza and come back and to go to the game. And I know sometimes they're hungry at the end of the day, but they do need to stay on campus. Really quickly, injuries. If you suspect your athlete's injured, please let us know right away. We want to monitor and make sure your athlete is taken care of. We do have a trainer who we attempt to get onto most of our games, but they are not full-time with us. CPS has asked them to split time with other schools. Coaches know that if there is a emergency, to stop everything, and that if there is an injury, to contact me and contact the trainer as fast as possible. You're going to sign a concussion form when you do those forms. Again, any symptom of concussion, please let me know as soon as possible, so I can loop in our nursing staff. We can get accommodations for your student. Our trainer is able to diagnose concussions. If you want to go to a doctor and get it diagnosed, sometimes our nursing suite does like to have a doctor for the accommodations, but we want to take those really seriously as well. And then they will need a doctor note to return to play. In terms of weather, I think the big thing is, as my biggest thing for weather is we're going to be overly cautious. It may be a pain, like you see lightning far away and we're scrambling to get inside or we're calling a game. I know multiple people have the lightning app. We are always going to just make sure that we're as careful as we can with that. So I know sometimes it's frustrating that we cancel games and then we could have had them or we get off, but we just want to make sure that we keep our athletes safe. Just really briefly, I want to introduce just a couple things. I've gone through all the public tools, the way you can work through our calendars, our forms, etc. We have created a whole new operating system for our coaches to try to streamline some procedures, and we're really excited about that. We also created a new weightlifting platform. So your athletes, they go to the weight room, there's a QR code they can scan in, and then whatever team they're on, they can click on that team, and they're preloaded workouts. Their coaches can see them working out. They can track their progress, the athlete and the coach. We will have a record board that can be displayed. We're pretty excited about that. In that operating system, there's going to be a new manager tool. And so if you want to be a manager for your team, coaches can add you, and you can submit scores and results. Those go to me. They can be displayed on our touchscreen, photos, so we can get them on Instagram. That the more you can share those things with me, I do my best to be at as many games as possible. But I'm not at every one of them. But that's going to be a great way for us to show all of our results. I'm going to elaborate quickly on the general consensus language requiring parents to waive claims for injury. I couldn't answer that question for you. That is part of CPS's language. And I couldn't explain it to you. What I've had every time a student has been injured, we document an Aspen, and when parents have gone through insurance claims, as far as I've been told, it's worked. That would be a question, honestly, for CPS legal. And I'm happy if you want to email me, I can try to work with you on that. And yeah, esports are national championship champions. I forgot to mention that earlier. Our second state champs and our first ever national champs. They won that about 4 weeks ago, if I remember correctly, and we're really excited for them. Last thing I want to talk about how families can partner with our athletic department. So the first thing I want to talk about is our Jones Athletic Booster Association. They are in their third full year, if memory serves me well. Dan, Melissa, Elizabeth, and Stephanie have done a really remarkable job taking something and building it into a huge support for our athletics. What JABA does is host fundraisers that will support our general athletics. So if you've been to our field, we have a great storage container out there. Before, we couldn't bring the hurdles for our track team over to the field, right? We have medical supplies and things like that in there, right? They got that. They got it logoed. It puts branding for us out there, and it looks great. Those windscreens on our field and on our softball, they've helped with. All the senior portraits, if you've been in our gym or our pool, JABA did all of that. The touch screen down in the lobby where we can put out reminders and scores and calendars instantly, they've done that. We're hoping to build on that touch screen. I'm hoping to introduce a Jones Hall of Fame and other things. They also will run fundraisers where teams are able to do like 50-50, right? So teams are able to fundraise while JABA does fundraising. Outside of fundraising, I think they've built an incredible community. The Swing for the Eagles event in the winter is one of my favorite things to do all year. Seeing just how connected our parent community is, it's why I love doing what I do, and it's a great job. So I can't speak highly enough of what they are doing. We need parent support for our boosters. This year, we are requiring that every team has one representative for Java for everyone to ensure that uh, they can go and they can communicate what their team needs or what their team's doing. So we are going to ask that every team have a representative on Java. We also know that our current leadership in Java has students graduating this year or next year, right? So we want to begin training our next cohort of leaders, and we want to build what our booster group is able to do. Schools our size are at times outperforming us. We have, like I said, huge projects ahead of us. So the more parent involvement we can get, the more we can do. I know of some schools who've been able to fully eliminate any athletic fees because their boosters are able to fundraise so much, right? But it's only possible with parent dedication and commitment and collaboration, outside of school. So there's a kickoff meeting on August 13th. I forgot to put Dan Richland, who's the president of Java's, email in here. But their website, which is linked there, has all that information. And if you email me, I can put you in touch with them. But they've done a tremendous job, and we need more people to join up with them to continue to work. In general, I think we've kind of covered most of this, but the other big thing is just kind of following along with the procedures. So just kind of reiterating before the season, getting all those forms in, understanding tryouts, communicating any of your questions early and often. During the season, reading those updates, promoting the team, modeling positive behavior in the stands. We want to pack all of our facilities. We want it to get loud. We want it to be exciting. We want it to be, good sports too. Serving on Java, attending Java events, going to recognition ceremonies, showing that school spirit, wearing our gear. We've got a Jones Athletic store that I can share. It's in the bottom of all my emails. We're going to add a student athletic advisory committee this year, so encourage your student to come out for that. I'm trying to get more student voice in terms of the direction of athletics. And then another big thing is at the end of the season, please make sure you're returning all your uniforms and equipment, paying those balances. We've had situations where uniforms don't come back and fees don't get paid, and that just means that we have to go deeper into the hole to try to support athletics. So making sure we monitor those things and get them back is really helpful. You also, at the end of the season, you'll get a feedback form from me. It's really critical. It is anonymous. You have the option of providing your information at the end. That feedback is everything for me. I look through that and my observations of the team to determine the direction of our program. I view myself as a steward of this. One day I will hand it off to someone, and I hope it is handed off better than I found it. But I can't do that if I don't know what our athletes and our parents and our school community want from athletics. So please make sure you fill out that feedback at the end. Finally, if you can bookmark the links today, submit those forms before tryouts. Just be looking out for the Aspen email. Get involved with Java. Those are going to be our next big steps. And at this point, I know I've been talking for a long time now, and I will open it up to any additional questions. If you don't have questions tonight, I'm always available at dgilmer@cps.edu, and my extension is 48684. When you find out the practice schedules, fall sport practice schedules should have been submitted. So if you need a fall sport practice schedule, you can email the coach right now or me, and we can get the fall sport schedules are all submitted. They're all on the Google Calendar already. Winter, I have asked coaches to have all the information secured a month before tryouts occur, and spring will be the same thing. Athletes are always encouraged. I see about experience. Athletes are always encouraged to come out to tryouts. I will say that depending on our programs, some of our programs, our athletes, even who are getting cut, have tons of experience. Some of our programs, we have we're looking for players. It really is just program specific. I would email coach and just sort of explain the situation. So what I always say is, I want people to learn the game of golf. But if it's their first time ever touching a golf club, it's not going to be fun or safe for them to come out for tryouts. We can look at other opportunities to try to encourage them. Most coaches operate that same way. So I would email the coach. Coach contacts are all on our athletics website, or you can email me and I can put them in touch. And that's true for both soccer and lacrosse. If you have really specific questions, I would ask those. Bowling is going to be a winter sport. We have boys and girls. Bowling is going to be at Waveland or Firestone. They usually have 1 or 2 matches a week and a practice or so a week. They have a lot of fun. I think it's a great sport. It is a team that is fairly large and has a wide range of experience with people who are just learning bowling and some people who are pretty good. If you can find the coach emails are all in Jones College Prep athletics.com. I know also Java has posted a graphic with all of their emails. I can always get it for you, and I will be working on a graphic soon as well. I would say the lacrosse. Mr. Sinow's answer has been my experience with lacrosse as well. There have been historically sports that don't cut. I have encouraged our coaches to embrace cuts when they feel like they do not have the capacity to coach every player on the team adequately. So I want to, if there are teams that have historically been no cut and suddenly are, it's only because I get a lot of feedback of my athlete didn't have a good enough time because they weren't able to be coached. And I don't want to be taking your athletic fees if you're not able to participate and be coached. Live stream will be available. Co-ed tackle football is co-ed across Illinois. If you want to talk about a specific situation, if your athlete is considering coming out, feel free to email me and I can talk to you, or we can talk with coach. But tackle football is co-ed. Flag football is girls only. Baseball is also co-ed. They are, those two sports are as well. I will remain on if there are more questions. Please, reach out. I'm always here to answer. If you can't tell, I really love doing my job. So you can make me do more of it. Please reach out early and often. I'm here to support you and make sure we have a great year. We had a great year last year, and I'm really excited for continual success this year. So I'll stay on, but if that's all the information I was going to present today, and I'll wait just to see if there are any further questions. I can't answer. I don't know if Mr. Richland's on. I believe there was going to be a virtual and in-person option on the 13th, if I remember earlier. For sailing, I can get you email and I'll get you sailing right away. It may not be on the website yet because we are the first school in the state of Illinois to offer sailing as an official IHSA developing sport. But it means I didn't have that information on until we got that. So that may be the one that's still missing. And I'm updating hockey as well. August 8th, Friends of Jones, I should have explained, it's a great question. Friends of Jones and Jones Athletic Booster Associations are two of the organizations that help support us, but they are different organizations. Jones Athletics is only going to focus on athletics. Friends of Jones does help athletics, but they also support multiple different programs. So that would be those are the two different things. So the August 8th is a freshman welcome event through FOJ, and then Java has the event on the 13th. I'm also going to really quickly, I will share the slideshow here in the chat. if you want to open that up on your own. And I can also post it on our classroom. And then I saw pre-participation forms should be through. It's a Google form on our athletic website. So it's a Google form that I created. It is open to everyone. If you want to email me the message you see, I can work on fixing that individually. Like I said, I did have one person earlier who their email administration doesn't allow them to do Google Forms. We ended up using their student's email. But if on a case by case we can do it, but it is our Google form. It's not a CPS general form. Great question. So sailing is a weird sport. Sailing, it would be about if they can make practice for both. Just because sailing is an IHSA adjacent sport. If a child golfs in the fall, they couldn't do boys soccer or any other IHSA sport. You're choosing one of two sports that would be the exception. So sailing and hockey and crew, because they're IHSA adjacent, they could technically do both. It would just be whether they could make the practices. What I would say is for boys golf, it would be very difficult. We practice 6 days a week or compete. Girls golf's a little less than that, and sailing's very competitive, and it's pretty. I mean, they travel all around the country, and they're very successful. We have yes, we have boys and girls hockey. I have to go read through. I just got a new issue. So last year we were part of co-ed hockey. Um, and I just got a new email yesterday from the club saying that they have a girls only team. I just need to read through it and see um, if what's going on with that. So that's something that's moving right now. Um, you could email coach about if they could only sail in the spring. And if you need that email me and I can get us in touch. If you are interested in joining Java for Student Sport, I think Java is excited to take people on, and if you want to be part of Java and your team has a second representative, I think we can all work it out. We will be excited to have people who want to help our athletic department. We have a great athletic department, and we want to continue supporting and moving it forward. Bowling will practice at Firestone and Waveland, and it just depends on where CPS schedules us. And usually the girls tend to take a bus there, and so if practice or tournaments are lined up, the boys will get on that bus as well. The boys otherwise tend to carpool or take public transportation. That's just by coach preference. Sports practices, I would say they are every day. Most of our teams, once we get going, are doing something. I would say at least Monday through Thursday and occasional Saturdays. Most teams are off Sundays. It depends. Like some are less. But if you think of kind of our bigger teams, they're going 5 to 6 days a week. And I so far boys soccer has not asked for pre-registration. I can confirm with Coach Rowe, but I believe the only sport that asked me to do pre-registration was my golf. I have all the information. Everything that's up on the website right now is accurate. Have I missed any questions, or are there any more? There should be in the slideshow should be the link for the calendar via QR code. Let me see if I can get the best thing really is to get the individual team calendars, because you have a lot of, yeah, I know some of the QR codes are a little small on a laptop. If you have a specific sport and you want to email me, I can get you that specific sport calendar. And the meeting is being recorded, and it will be up. It will be up on YouTube forever, and I will once again post the link to the slides. And if you somehow can't get through the recording, I'm always available. Have a great evening. Yeah, so hockey definitely. Chicago Central is where we are going, and I just like I really crossed through my desk, and I haven't opened up the new one that was talking about a girls only team, and I couldn't tell if they were saying we were already in or if they were asking if we were interested. So if you email me, I can forward you what I have for hockey, because I know there's been a lot of desire to get us to where we could have a boys and a girls separate team, not just a co-ed team. Thank you all. I still see there are people watching. I just want to make sure I'm not cutting off questions from anyone. Thank you all. All right. Thank you all. I'm going to end the stream. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out.